My name is David Cancel. I'm the CEO of Drift and co-founder of Drift. But I want to start with a story. I want to start with this idea of picturing this, which is my favorite sneaker store, right? So imagine that you go into the store to buy a pair of sneakers or whatever it is that you want to buy, and you walk into the store. When you walk into the store, you see everything that you want to buy, but there's nobody in the store. The store is completely empty. And so you're trying to figure out, how do I buy the thing that I came in for, in my case, a pair of sneakers? Well, you walk around and you look around, and then you finally find that there's a place for you to write your name, your phone number, your email address, and it says someone will contact you at some point, someday, and they will ask you to come back to the store to buy the sneakers when they're ready. Now that sounds totally crazy, right? No one has a shopping experience that's like that, especially in a store like this, but that is the way that we have how we treat people when they land on our website, right? So one thing that happened with the pandemic was that we went from a world with digital in it to a digital-first world. And 80% of sales interactions are now happening online. Now that is common for most of us when we buy things for ourselves, for our personal use. But on the business side, for most enterprise businesses, that's not the way it worked. For most enterprise businesses, they had to go to a website, they had to go talk to a salesperson, they had to go hurry up and wait for someone to contact them in order to buy something. But the world has moved online overnight, right? And during the pandemic, we saw B2B companies, especially enterprise B2B companies, finally make that shift. But despite that shift that happened, that all of us went through, this is still the B2B buying experience for most companies. And so most of us have gone through this, which you land on a website, you fill out a form like I was describing, you become a contact in a CRM somewhere, and maybe if you're lucky, someone will reach out to you either through email or through phone calls, or many, many phone calls and many, many emails to try to re-engage you and to get you to come back in order to shop. But oftentimes, you go through this process and you never hear from that vendor again. Right? So all of the focus that we have today from a marketing standpoint is to get people to our websites. But when we get them to the website, which is in the new world, in the digital world, our storefront, when we get them to that storefront, we make them wait and we make them figure out how it is that they can actually buy from this business. So all of that work to get them to come back to the website and to hurry up and to fill out that form, and then maybe for them to come back to the store in order to buy. So it's a bad experience, it's a lousy experience, and in our normal lives, we would never put up with this. But this is the best in class today, whether you use a CRM like Salesforce, or you use a marketing solution like Marketo or other solutions. No matter how complicated your stack is and how sophisticated your sales team is, we usually put someone through a bad experience. So what happens usually within a marketing and sales team is, despite this getting people to the website and getting better from a digital standpoint of getting people to the website, since we're using this old technology of having them fill out forms, having them wait, this is what usually happens. Infighting within your sales and marketing team. Because your sales team inevitably says that they don't have enough leads, that they want the good leads, and the marketing team says, why aren't you responding to the leads that we're getting you? The people that are coming to the website and asking to buy from you, you're not responding to, right? And so the infighting goes back and forth and back and forth. And B2B businesses usually respond to this problem by throwing more money at it in two ways. The first way is to spend more money from a marketing standpoint in order to get people at the top of the funnel to come back, and to get more people at the top of the funnel and widen that funnel. And the second way is to spend more on the sales side from a sales development rep or BDR standpoint, or to basically have the sales team self-source their own leads. So we're spending more money at the top of the funnel with the marketing team, and we're spending more money in the middle of the funnel with our sales teams. But we don't fix the fundamental problem, right? We spend all of this energy and time, and whether it comes through a salesperson or it comes through a marketing team, inevitably your prospect or the person who wants to buy from your business is going to come to you to the website to figure out what it is that you buy, to answer questions on their own, right? And if we look at research, what research shows is that a response time of 5 minutes or fewer is ideal, so when someone comes to your website, right? It should be real time, but in most cases it's not. But it turns out for most B2B businesses, this is measured in days, weeks, or even months for someone to get back to you. But instead of fixing this problem like we talked about, B2B businesses keep doing the same thing. They keep spending more on marketing, they keep spending more on sales. And we don't evolve even though we have changed in the way that we want to buy in our personal lives. We keep relying on these same old tactics. We put up more forms or more gates for people to fill out on the website. We have our sales team reach out and send more emails, or the marketing team can do that as well, and we rely more on phone calls. But these are the things that all of us do not want to respond to. None of us want to fill out more forms, none of us want any more sales calls, and none of us want any more of those automated nurturing emails to come our way. So for all of us buyers, we're tired of getting tangled up with all these incessant phone calls. And we're sick of sorting through emails and nurturing emails, and we're fed up with filling out forms. And it's costing not only our businesses, customers, it's costing us revenue as well. So because today's B2B buyer, like all of us, today's buyers, forget about B2B, have endless options. We've gone from a world where this was okay, and this was okay, these old tactics, when there were very few suppliers in the market, when you had no choice, when there were a lot of monopolies in the market, monopolies out there. But today, we have infinite supply. And anything that you want to buy for your business, there's almost an endless supply. And so if you don't respond quickly to a prospective buyer who's walking in your door to your digital storefront, they're going to go somewhere else, right? And we're competing in this race, as we all know, for attention. And if we look at the brands that we love from a consumer standpoint, so brands like these, like Amazon and Netflix and Apple and Tesla and Uber, they've gotten this right? They've really spent time to understand how to create an amazing buying experience. Buying a Tesla is an amazing buying experience. Using Amazon is an amazing experience for all of us. But B2B brands, if we go to businesses, they still need some help, right? And we know this because we've researched this. We spoke to over 500 plus, probably 5,000 really, B2B professionals, and we created this thing called the 2021 State of Conversational Marketing. And I'll give you the link at the end, which you can download this after this talk. And here's what we learned from doing that research. We learned that consumer patience has worn thin. It was always thin, but now it's thinner with B2B businesses. And we're frustrated at getting basic things resolved on our own. The website is frustrating, getting basic information is frustrating, filling out forms, as I mentioned, is super frustrating. And it really shows when we look at the experiences that people have on our business websites, right? B2B businesses are still stuck using those complicated forms and that old process that I described. And even though we're buying and selling online, just like we do in our normal lives, it should still feel human, right? Because everything starts with a conversation. And that's the amazing thing to me. If we look at that old experience that I described, we look and we see that all they're trying to do is prevent a conversation from happening. By putting up those forms, making you fill out more things, making sure that you're qualified, making sure that you're doing all those things, we're basically preventing a conversation from starting. And the crazy thing is that if you're in sales, if you have a sales team, if you're that type of business, you have never sold anything until a conversation has started. So why not do everything possible on your website to start a conversation? Because you can never have a sale if you rely on salespeople without a conversation starting. And all of those things, forms and those old tactics, are all about preventing conversations starting. And this is the very reason we started Drift, right? To look at this B2B buying experience and make it more human, and really focus for the first time ever on the buyer versus focusing on the company and helping the company sell more. We really focus on the buyer and helping them through the buying experience. And what Drift does is it brings the power of conversations into the B2B buying experience. So instead of those forms and that old process that I described, we replace that for our customers by putting on a way for you to have a conversation 24/7, 365 on your website. We also do that through video. We do that through email and text messages and other ways. But the simplest way to think about it is when you go to a website and you have a question, you can talk to Drift, and that can be either a human or one of our bots in order to answer your question. And we know that we're saying the right things to the right people at the right time, that matters. And what we do at Drift is we look at that conversation data, we analyze that conversation data across all of our customers and within our customers to make sure we're saying the right things at the right time. And we do that by analyzing the conversations that have happened in the past through the people that work in that company and the prospective customers. So when you look at Drift and the way that it works, we're really focused on building something that didn't exist before, which is replacing the idea of a traditional CRM, which is really a glorified spreadsheet in the cloud that we rely on humans to fill in, with actually ingesting for the first time ever conversation data, and that conversation data being coming from your website, coming from email, coming from text, coming from video, coming from Zoom calls and other calls like that, and coming from voice calls, putting that all together into a new type of database, a database that can be analyzed, and we use that to make inferences using machine learning on top of that to understand what is the right thing to say at the right time. And we have to remember, like I said earlier, that our buyers know more than usually the people within the company, right? About the products and services that you sell. It's a very different world, right? The information that they need, whether that comes through peers or comes through review sites or comes from other people who have experienced the product, they usually are more educated in the thing that they want to buy than some of the people that are within our own companies who may be answering those questions. So the bar is high, right? And the old tech that we relied on before isn't going to cut it. We actually have to look at a new source of data. And we see that 65% of our sellers' time is spent on non-revenue generating prior activities. And what that means is for your sales team and for your marketing team who are trying to generate revenue for your company, most of the time is actually trying to find the right answer, trying to find the right person, and trying to do things, kind of digital paperwork we call it, in order to do their job, right? And that could involve as well filling in that old school CRM and actually entering in things by hand, things that can actually be figured out today using technology built on top of conversations like we do in an automated fashion. So what we think is that AI should not replace humans, but should empower them, right? It should all be about machine learning helping the humans within our company by removing that 65% of time that they're spent doing non-selling activity, and forget the selling thing. Really, they're spending 65% of their time not helping your customers. Whether those are current customers or those are prospective customers, that's where they're spending their time. Instead, they should be spending all their time helping customers, and we should be able to figure out in today's world how to answer the questions we need in order to run our business by analyzing that conversation data. And what we think is that using this machine learning, using this conversation technology, that we can do all the dirty work and we get the humans to focus, meaning all the people on our team, on the human stuff, and that is in having conversations and building relationships with your customers. So these are all the things that we can do in an automated fashion. We can qualify site visitors, we can ask important questions, we can even schedule meetings without humans being involved. And that leads to being able to free up your team in order to focus on those customers. But this is more than just automation, right? Automation is only part of the story. This is not just automating an existing process, and we have things like sales automation and marketing automation technologies that have existed, but it's really about a new thing. Automation is really focused on how do we speed up an existing process, but AI adds speed in our process and understanding from that conversation data and context in order to add intelligence into the process and in order to delight your customers. And what we see is, of course, and we all know this because we feel this every day, that chatbot usage is trending, right? It's up. But it's not only chat within the website, but it is conversations in all forms, whether those are video conversations, Those are email-based conversations. We're able to build these chatbots that can actually understand what's happening, understand different languages, different product SKU sets, and really automate things when your team is not available. Because most of us as buyers want answers when we want them, and so we want your business to be available 24/7, 365, and we know that our human-based teams, all of us, need to sleep, and we can't work 24/7, 365, and that's when our automation through chat can step in. But the way I think about Drift is it's just more than just chatbots, right? We've created a category in trying to create this, and we wrote a book, which was mentioned earlier, called Conversational Marketing around that. And conversational marketing was the first step in what we're doing. We extended from conversational marketing because we saw with our customers that it was more than just marketing, into sales and in the future into service, and really built this conversational AI layer that can work across any part of the life cycle for your customers, whether that's getting new customers, working with existing customers, or servicing old customers. And so this new category that we think and that we've launched this year is called conversational commerce. And conversational commerce is something that's existed for a short time in the B2C side of things, so in the consumer side of things, but it hasn't been applied to the business side, right? And that's what we're doing. And today, Drift works with more than 50,000 businesses. Companies like Snowflake and GitHub and others like that rely on Drift in order to help their teams create a better buying experience for their buyers. And the way that we have transformed how businesses buy from businesses is the same way that AWS is transformed the way that business is done. And Drift runs entirely on Amazon Web Services. We've been fans since day one, and this is actually a picture from the first day that we started Drift more than 6 years ago. And even when everyone was against some of the cloud stuff, which they were years ago, we were for it. So when we started a company called Performal back in 2009, we were built entirely on AWS. That company was then acquired by another company called HubSpot. And so when we went to HubSpot, the roadblocks came, and that was about 2011. We joined this bigger company, and they were not a cloud native. They had nothing in the cloud at that point. They had their own internal systems. And we began to move all of their systems to AWS, and we were able to do that successfully over a couple years. But then we had a chief information officer who wanted to maintain control and kind of threw up some roadblocks. And he didn't want to include AWS because we were about to go public as a company in 2014, and he was concerned about some of the potential issues that he saw with AWS. So we spent a lot of time trying to figure out how we could migrate off of AWS, and we did that through a bunch of do-it-yourself solutions and open source solutions. But we spent all our time doing that and trying to get off of AWS at HubSpot and create our own cloud. And we spent all of that energy from an engineering standpoint there versus innovating for our customers, which was the wrong thing to do. And ultimately, that plan, failed. And when we left HubSpot in 2015 and started Drift, the first thing that we decided was that Drift would be 100% AWS, that we weren't going to have that same mistake happen that had happened at HubSpot and that same time wasted. So if we look under the hood of how Drift works, and I don't think we've ever talked about this publicly, Drift embraced containers from the beginning and runs all of its services primarily on ECS, right? So this is a very high level of how Drift works on AWS. And when we look at all those conversations and events that we process, we make heavy use of SNS and SQS. And this is how every message and every event that goes through our system goes through AWS. And if we look at the application architecture, we can see how we use, from a database standpoint, RDS and Dynamo here, DynamoDB, for storage and caching. And what AWS has allowed us to do is allowed us to focus on our hard problems and delivering value to the customers. And instead of doing what we had to do at the last company, which was spend all that time trying to create a multi-cloud solution, we're able to build entirely on AWS and focus all of our engineering resources on what matters most, which is delivering value to our customers. And that has helped us scale from the very beginnings of Drift to now being able to serve 50,000 customers throughout the world. And so why we benefit and how we benefit from AWS is that we're able to focus our resources on building software for our customers, and that's what matters. And we can win or fail fast as we continue to innovate. And we have clear visibility, especially now, very different than in 2009, into the cost and understanding the cost and the return on investment that we're getting. And the way that we use AWS at Drift today has been the same since the very beginning. The way that we've been able to build from the startup phase of our business a little over 6 years ago through our hypergrowth phase, through to our shift to the enterprise, which we are in right now, has been exactly the same. We haven't had to retool our infrastructure. We haven't had to change anything. We haven't even had to change any of our services. We've just scaled automatically with AWS. And so, working with AWS has been great for us at Drift. We would never start another company without building on AWS, for sure. And in today's online world, if we go back to my sneaker shopping analogy here, and we know that the new website, today's website, is the new digital storefront. We both work hand in hand to make commerce as conversational as possible. AWS and Drift, we work together to make this reality real. So our key takeaways from this talk today is, remember, in today's world, especially because of the pandemic and because of that shift for our enterprise customers, that websites are the new storefront. We should consider that website. Whether you can buy on your website or not, it doesn't matter. When you land on that website, that is the new storefront. And just like in that sneaker analogy, we should never have an empty storefront. You should always be able to walk into that storefront and have someone there who can greet you and have a conversation with you. And the old way of doing things, which was focused on sellers and companies and selling, is not working for buyers today. And if we look at the leading consumer brands, the brands that we all love to shop from every day, they're setting the new tone, the new experience, and that is the same experience that we should bring to our B2B businesses. There should be no difference, because at the end of the day, it's humans who are buying on both ends, and you want the same amazing experience that you have in your normal life when you buy something for your business. And then conversational commerce can help businesses deliver that quick and simple experience that buyers want in an automated fashion, and we can get smarter over time understanding the conversations that are happening. And a lot of the things that we do within our business today that rely on humans entering data into existing CRMs or other databases will be replaced with a conversational approach. We'll just be able to talk and communicate with our customers and communicate within our own teams, and we'll have technology that will be able to capture that, make sense of it, make it accessible, and then do the things that we need done within the business standpoint. And then lastly, AWS is helping businesses all over the world power the new age of business in the same way that we're trying to help all businesses create an amazing buying experience and be the new way that businesses buy from businesses. So I mentioned this book at the beginning of the talk, and it's called The State of Conversational Marketing Report for 2021. And there's a link here that you can click on and you can visit and you can download a copy of that book for free if you're interested in learning more. And thank you all for coming today, and have a safe flight home.